Mounce, BBG, chapter 25, sentence 5. Obviously, starting with this subject clause, you got the faith of you with that second person personal pronoun, singular, of course, but also genitive. So it's the faith of you, or more simply, your faith, right? And then you have this main verb followed by the accusative form of that same second person personal pronoun. So, you as the direct object. But here you have in the middle this verb, which hopefully you recognize very, very easily. If all you see is that, you probably ought to think, okay, sozo, probably. Then you've got the kappa to tell you that it's probably perfect. You got reduplication to tell you it definitely is a perfect. So should be an easy one to spot as a perfect because of that, both the reduplication and the kappa. Then you see the epsilon nu ending, which tells you it can only be third singular. So that's very easy because that will work in terms of subject verb agreement with faith. So it's the faith of you, or your faith has saved, translating as a perfect, has saved you. All right. And then for the second sentence, you have and then over here you have an obvious subject, right? So the woman, with that nominative definite article, that ought to spot it for you real quick. So the woman, and then if we yank this prepositional phrase out for just a second so we can deal with the verb, with this verb, you look at this and you say, well, wait a minute, I'm dealing with that same sozo verb, but here I have, instead of reduplication, I've got an augment, and then I've got a theta 8 at the end, which tells me it's passive, right? Still third singular, but here, because subject verb agreement with the woman. So again, from sozo, but aorist passive because of that theta 8 and the augment. So the woman was saved, right? And then this should be pretty easy for you, from that hour or from that moment. Now, I would tell you, looking at these two main verbs, if you look in most translations are going to translate both of them as something to do with being well or healed. Your faith has made you well, and she was healed. Your faith has healed you, and the woman was healed. But both of these verbs are sozo. So in terms of a teaching point, very, very common when you talk about being saved, in the Gospels, depending on your audience and stuff like that, is much, much more common to see it as a temporal, deliverance from disease, or your enemies, or Peter drowning and saying, save me, and he just didn't want to die. Much more common to see that use of saved than we think, especially if we've grown up hearing it as sort of always eternal. Anyway, just something to notice here. But again, both of these verbs are from sozo. So your faith has saved you, and the woman was saved from that hour or moment.